Okay, so the title of today's talk is going to be What is Physics? And I want to keep it as short as possible, but a little bit of an intro. One of my students, his name is Marcus, not his real name, but Marcus, if you're watching this, I'm sure you recognize yourself. So Marcus, he says to me, he says, I like collecting things. So I said to Marcus, hey Marcus, I like collecting things as well, and over many years. And so if you show me yours, well, no, not right now. You haven't got yours with you, so I'll show you my collection. And then I thought to myself, well, I could share my collection with a wider audience. So then I thought, well, most of my stuff is to do with physics, so maybe I could widen it out and ask the question that a lot of young people ask, well, what is physics? So hence the title of this talk. So one way of finding out what is physics is by opening the contents pages of a book like this, and you will see, of course, a lot of lines, a lot of topics, etc. That's very good. And another way, if you're a little bit older, would be to look at a book like this one up here, which is the A-level physics. You see it's a very thick book, and that deals with the same topics, but in greater detail. So, okay, so I thought to myself, well, right, so let me share my screen with you, and I want to show you some of the bits and pieces that I've collected over the years. So sharing my screen with you about now. So if I drag, just see if we can get this across. Drag this document across. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call it Kitchen Tabletop Physics, red, green, blue. Nice bit of physics there. So what is physics? Well, I think of physics basically down the page a bit there. I think of it as heat, light, sound, electricity, magnetism, electromagnetism, atomic and nuclear. And then, of course, you think, well, there's other little bits as well. So I added them at the start of the list. You could have general physics, could be anything really, materials, masses and weights, springs and pendulum, forces and energy, gases and pressure. And I'm sure there are other things as well that I could add to that list, and you could as well. But basically, these are the main headings: heat, light, sound, electricity, magnetism, so on. So, okay, right, that simplifies the answer to the question, what is physics? So what have I got in my collection to do with this? So let's have a look under my other camera, and under the other camera at the moment I've got laid out on the table, so I better go across that way, and I hope that this is picking up the sound. So to keep things kind of turn that around so that I can see what I'm pointing at. So let's have a look here. We've got the list of things, materials. Let's see what I've got. So here we've got the collection of materials. We've got various materials. That happens to be a little brass ornament. We've got some copper. You can see copper there. You can see more brass just here. You can see some lead here, more copper. We've got some plastic material, which is of course an insulator, and then a metal up the middle of the wire, which is a conductor. So that's interesting. The container itself is of course aluminium, and this is one of my favorite pieces of all time. Let me see, can you see what that says on there? It says the word titanium, and I got this from a student of mine many years ago. He went to work with British Airways down at the airport, or up at the airport, and at Heathrow, and he brought this sample of titanium back. His name was Ian Pratt, a very good student, very excellent student. And if you ever see this, Ian, thank you for your piece of titanium. If you're ever wondering what happened to it, this is what happened to it. It's part of my collection and pride of place in my collection. Light and strong. That's the beauty of titanium. That's why it's used in aeroplanes so much. Light and strong. So there you've got some materials. Back here we've got, oh, of course, the plastic ruler. Back here we've got some masses and springs, which is fantastic. And of course, just there we have a thing called a pendulum that we could do some lovely physics with on the kitchen tabletop, and masses and springs. We can do some lovely physics with that as well. Oh my goodness. Just a second. Let me knock this off. I don't know if that will actually work. So turn the phone off for 1 second. And yeah, that should be it off. What else have we got? Forces and energy. Well, forces and energy is all throughout physics. Gases and pressure. When I was in the hospital 1 year ago, and the medics were putting a lot of chemicals into me, and when they had finished with this particular object, I said to the doctor, "What are you going to do with that?" He said, "I'm going to throw it away because it's single use only." And I said, "Could I have it?" And he said, "Yes, you can." So much to my surprise. And so, because I thought to myself, hang on, I can get a lesson or two out of this, and maybe a whole course out of that. So that's good physics. Moving on to heat. What have we got here? Whoa, 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 whoa. We have got ourselves a thermometer, and it's in a chemical called naphthalene, or you could use another frozen solid like candle wax. At the moment that's frozen, and we could heat it up and we could look at the melting point or the freezing point of that chemical. What else have we got? Light and sound waves. Well, back here, if I go around this way, we've got this fellow. This guy here is a slinky for showing waves, and there's a little metal one which I bought up Whitton High Street. Lovely little, I bought it in a shop called Papillon, for those of you who know Whitton, and there's a little beauty here. So we've got waves, we've got light waves, of course, we've got more light waves. We've got some of these for producing light waves. If I just shine onto the page, we've got blue and green, blue laser, green laser, and of course, wouldn't want to forget, if this comes on properly, so we've got our lasers. Fantastic. Again, we have the colors of the rainbow just on the Institute of Physics rubber. We have got what comes after that. We've got electricity and magnetism. Here we've got some things to do with magnetism. And of course, one of my favorites is this fellow here. Another of my all-time favorites is this particular little toy here. I love that thing, absolutely. And of course, we've got, it's not salt or pepper, it's iron filings, and perhaps you can see under the camera what's going on there. With light, of course, you can have filters and these special pieces of plastic here. We could do experiments with those if we had a bit more time. What have we got? Electricity. I haven't shown you any electricity yet, so I could show you that book, which is a lovely book. It's even got a picture of this fellow here. That's the other famous Michael. I'm sure you recognize him. Going back over to here, we've got, if I put my electricity stuff just here, you will see some electricity stuff in a bit of a higgledy-piggledy state at the moment, because I'm in the middle of using it with Marcus, and so we've got loads of electricity stuff just there. Then we've got our magnetism stuff, as I've demonstrated to you there. And then electricity and magnetism comes together. It all comes together in electromagnetism. And in electromagnetism, we have got things like this here. You can see what's going on just there. And of course, this piece of the resistance, we've got a thing here which sort of, if it was working, if I hadn't switched it off the other day, that works very nicely. Electricity and magnetism coming together, and of course, oh, this one will work rather nicely. You get these all over the place, don't you? This was Invest in Northern Ireland. Don't know what I'm doing with that. So if I turn the handle, we can make some electricity. Fantastic. Next, we've got, and nearly lastly, so bear with me, we've got this. It came out of an old VCR, which stands for a video cassette recorder, When you take these things apart, sometimes you find wonderful things in there. And look at the physics involved in this thing, and look at the physics involved in that thing there. How many lessons can we get out of that? And look at the physics involved there. Oh, I don't know if you can see exactly what's going on there, but you don't have to. You just have to know that there's wonderful things to be found when you go looking for them. So that is a sample of the, if I come back to the other camera right now and push that over to the side, bring back, end the sharing of the screen, and we could have a lesson, of course, right now, but we're running out of time on that. I better go and attend to that phone, which rang a few minutes ago. So have I stopped the sharing? Yes, I have stopped the sharing. Okay, so thank you very much for your patience if you're still watching. If you want any more information or a lesson or whatever, or comments, you're very, very welcome. So thank you for your attention. Goodbye.